So we're going to be looking at error handling in Rust. So let's dive into Visual Studio Code once again. So in Rust we have this thing called the result type. So the result enum. So there's something called result. So it's like this. Result. So it's a type in Rust. So basically you will see that instead of returning an I32 like we did here, we will return what they call a result. So you return the result, and this result is either going to return so we're going to be returning result, and this result, the first part of this result will be the value you want to return. So for example, I want to be returning an I32 here, and let's say a string. So this could be like your error message. So this is how, for example, and in that case, what you will do here is that, so you will, for example, say you're going to be returning like, so for example, instead of returning, so you're going to return OK of A plus B. So maybe on some condition, let's say, for example, if we're dividing this value. So let's say, for example, we are dividing this value. So I'm going to show you how the result enum look like. So let's check the result enum. So let's see how it looks like. So when I click here, so you're going to see that the result enum is actually what they call generic. So it brings out two possibilities. The first one is the type of the result it is supposed to give you. And the second type is the error. So this is how you manage errors. So the first part is if it's okay, it gives you the value. Or when you get an error, then the error is being propagated here. So for example, if we are dividing A and B, so we could say, for example, here that if, so we could say, you cannot divide by 0, for example. So we could say if our B is equals to 0, now we know in this case, we are going to be getting an error. So you see, we want to kind of like convert our error here. So we want to get the error here, or else we're going to return this value. So this is how, so in this case, if we want to kind of like use this function now, so let's go back here in our main. So where we had the function, so we had this result, let's see. So here we could say, for example, let me take this ones out. We don't longer need them. So we could say let result. So let result be equals to, so we're going to say this. So you see that this one, so divide now, sorry. So now let's see. So now look at what it's returning. So it's returning the result and a string in case of the error. So if we want to get the error, so it has this thing also that we could do. For example, you see it in a lot of stuff. We could tell it, for example, we expect, you see. So the expect is that the first part is what you are expecting. So we are expecting, so we can pass a message here that in case we don't get the value, this is what we want to pass as our error. So this is what it should panic with. So divide by 0. So this is how kind of like you handle errors. So now you have your result, but in case you don't have the result, you're going to see this message as your error. So divide by 0, maybe error. Okay. The other way you could also handle this is you could do something like you could calculate, let's say, you could say let result. So this one could be like result. And then you could say this is equal to, then this would be funcs. And then you want to divide, but this time around, let's say you want to divide 23 by 0. So we expect to get an error here. And then you could use also like, you could use the unwrap. So you could use something called dot unwrap. So you could use unwrap. Let's get back here. So you could use like the dot unwrap. So we're gonna like dot unwrap. So this unwrap is just gonna give you the result directly. So you might either do it like this, or alternatively, apart from using unwrap, you could also use the match to extract the value. So you could either use the expect, you could use the unwrap. So the unwrap will just kind of like give you the value without really a message. So, or you could still get this result. So let's put this one as result 2. And then in this case, instead of using the unwrap, we could use the match. So we could use the match and say, because I mean, we could say match, and then we could say result 2. And now we have 2 possibilities. So if it's okay, we print the result, else we print the error. So all of these approaches, you could use them. So I think the most common approach is what you want to use, like in a very in your program. I think I will expect you to use expect, but if you just want to write you are just testing out functionality, you could just quickly use the unwrap. So, or you could use the match as well, but it's more verbose, it has more lines. Another common way to handle your error is by using the option type. So the option type is another enum that you can use within your smart contract as well. So this one here, it has 2 possibilities. It's either you're going to get some or none. So let's look at it here. So let's say, for example, here we have this function. Instead of returning usize, this function is going to return, let's say, an option of use u32. So you see, in this case, for here, we just need to provide, wrap this one with some, and then we now need to provide s.len as u32. So you see, so this as u32 means it's changing the value of this length to u32. Now, when we get this rectangle here, as we did normal, and we want to calculate the area, let's see what happens. So now we get an option. So in this place, so let's see. So this calculate area is going to return an option. Let's see. In u32. So here, let's see what happens. So we are supposed to get an option here. So this is supposed to return, let's see what is actually returning. So, okay, dot area. So this is still returning a u32. Let's see where we actually got that done. Oh, no, we did it in, not in area, but we did it in calculate length. So I wanted to implement this here for the area. So let's do this for area. And then let's see so that we can test it out. So this is going to return. Then whatever return is returned here as u32. So I think this will be fine. Now we can take this one out from here. So, and make sure that this returns usize as before. So now we have this. So now we need to wrap this one in sum. Whatever we get here as sum of that value, we just need to put this one. Okay, now everything is fine. So you discover that here we now get an option. So in this case, since it's an option, we could also use a match. We could also use match as well. So we could just, for example, we could take this, the whole of these ones out. So it's either going to be returning, so based on the options, so you see, it's either returning some stuffs or none. So you see, so if it doesn't return this, it's going to return none. So the same way you did it the other time, you could also, for example, do dot expect as well. So, and now this could also just produce a u32. So we could also handle it as just like you saw in the other option. So it's either going to give you like a possibility of, and you could also use match as well. But in this case, your match is going to be like this. So for example, if you want to call this one result tree, and let's take this one down. Let me show you how you're going to do it with match. So with match here, you're going to say, so let's take this expect out of here. And in this case, we are still getting the option. So what we're going to do now is match the result. So we're going to match this result tree. And in this case, we're going to have two possibilities here. So we're going to have the sum and we're going to have none. So you see, so the same thing with, so this is these are the tools that have been provided for you to handle errors within your Rust program. So you're either going to be using result or you're going to be using the option enum. So they are all enums. So you see how enums could be powerful as an asset for you in writing your smart program.